What's up everybody? It's Luke James, not the singer. If you're an indie artist looking for an album review and some promo, you can hit up Luke at redmattersite.com, and welcome to my very first episode of The Archives. This is going to be a little series where I review old albums, classic albums, and personal favorites of mine. I'll be doing these reviews whenever there's a bit of a drought as far as new hip-hop releases go, because that way I can keep providing some new content for you guys. But of course, I'll be staying up to date on the new albums and mixtapes as well. Now, what'll be different about these reviews is that I'm not going to rate these albums and mixtapes, because this is just all about reminiscing and discussing great music from the past. So make sure you hit me up in the comments section and let me know what you think about these albums and mixtapes. And also let me know if you have any fond memories that are connected to these. So without further ado, the first episode of The Archives is all about Jay-Z's masterpiece, The Blueprint. Hence the Rocawear hat. And you know, the funny thing about this album is that I absolutely hated it when it first came out, because it just wasn't my style. But over time it grew on me, and I now consider it to be one of the greatest hip-hop albums ever released. Now, this album came out on the same day as the 9/11 attacks back in 2001, and it's been said that it was written and recorded within the span of a couple of weeks, which is just damn amazing when you consider how good this album is. The Blueprint also shifted hip-hop culture quite a bit, because at the time that it dropped, sample-based production was still happening, but it wasn't quite as popular in the mainstream as it had been in the early and mid-90s. A lot of the production around the late 90s and early 2000s was more influenced by that southern, clubby style. Because that was around the time when Ludacris, Lil Jon, Cash Money Records, No Limit Records, and other southern acts and labels were really pumping out the hits. And while the Blueprint did have its more club-style tracks, like Jigga That Nigga, produced by the Trackmasters, and Hola Jovito, produced by Timbaland, this album really marks the rise of super producers Kanye West and Just Blaze. Although we gotta give Bink some props too, because he was responsible for crafting The Ruler's Back, All I Need, and Mama Loves Me. And all three of those tracks were great. Just Blaze produced the banger You Don't Know, which later spawned an even harder remix featuring M.O.P. And he also produced two of the singles from this album, Girls, 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 and Song Cry. Song Cry had Jay-Z spitting about a rough relationship, and it boasted some soulful production that also made use of high-pitched vocal samples, very similar to what Kanye West was known for. As for Girls, 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 it was a fun, humorous, and descriptive track about all the women that Jay-Z had. And that song actually came under quite a bit of fire, because a lot of people were saying that it was stereotypical and misogynistic. Mostly due to lyrics like when Jay-Z referred to a Native American woman as a squaw. But still, all that drama aside, it's a great song, and the video for it is one of my favorite videos of all time, so make sure you check it out. Now, Kanye West, who was often called Kane at the time because nobody knew how to say his name properly, laid the lead single Izzo, which sampled the Jackson 5's I Want You Back. And this track really showcased Jay-Z's effortless flow, as he spit about his childhood, his criminal past, and experiences in the industry. Izzo definitely didn't have that typical lead single sound for 2001 in regards to the beat and the subject matter, but whether people liked it or not, it was very unique and it created a lot of buzz, especially because of the H to the Izzo, V to the Izzy hook. Kanye also produced Never Change and Heart of the City. And the interesting thing about both of these tracks is how Jay-Z's gritty street narrative blended perfectly over the beautiful, soulful sounds without clashing. And that was just another way that the Blueprint set itself apart and started setting trends. But it was Kanye West's Doors sampled track, Takeover, that really shook the industry up. This is the infamous one where he exposed Prodigy from Mobb Deep as a ballerina, but more importantly, this was where Jay-Z ripped Nas with the barrage of bars directly aimed at him, which then caused Nas to reply back with his track, Ether. But the whole Jay-Z and Nas beef and feud thing is a whole other story, so just hit me up in the comments section to let me know who you think won, what your favorite parts of that was, etc., and I'll weigh in. Another cool thing about the Blueprint is that there were very few features. Kanye West was featured on the hook for Never Change, but he wasn't credited, and at the time no one really recognized his voice because he was only known as a producer then. But the one true feature on this album that blew people away was Eminem on Renegade. And this song was also produced by Eminem. All these years later, this track is still considered to showcase some of Eminem's best bars, and while Jay-Z was on point too, Eminem absolutely ate it alive to the point that renegading someone became slang for outshining somebody when you had a guest feature on their track. But what was so great about Renegade was the honesty and the subject matter. Both MCs addressed their critics, with Jay-Z focusing more on people in the industry, and Eminem absolutely eviscerated and obliterated the hypocritical parents and religious groups who were blaming his lyrics for everything wrong with the world today. So I know I left out a couple of tracks here, and maybe I focused on the production a little bit too much, but when I think of this album, Jay-Z's bars were great, but it was really the production that changed the game and made this album stick out so much. So if for some reason you never checked the Blueprint out, I really think you should, because while the term classic gets thrown around very recklessly, it is not getting thrown recklessly when it is in regards to the Blueprint, because it is a true masterpiece and it legitimately changed the game. Even if you don't really like this album, you can't deny the impact that it had on hip-hop music and culture. So hit me up in the comments section and let me know what you think about the Blueprint. Let me know if there's any other classic albums or older albums that you want me to review. And of course, do all that other good YouTube and social media stuff where you like my videos, you share them, you retweet them, and you especially subscribe to my channel because that's the one that helps me out the most. Thank you for watching the first episode of The Archives. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. I'll see you next time.